What up YouTube? This is the Délire Escalade. This is the athlete of the day. What's up? What's up?
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will analyze the subtle differences between climbing gym grades, meaning that I will bring in some remarks to see how different the moves are in each grade. So I will try the reset from my gym, and it goes from V4 to V11, skipping V5. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so starting off with V4, this specific one has some big jugs at the beginning, so I just keep my arms relaxed to not waste any energy. And when the angle of the wall changes, I use some hip mobility and some hip rotations to make sure that I'm not using too much strength out of my arms. So if you have a good technique, this can be super easy, but for a beginner that doesn't know any of this, it can be a lot harder. Okay, so now we're on a V6 since there wasn't a V5 in the reset. And already you can see that we started in an overhang and then we gotta go into these crimps, so you definitely need some crimp strength. You should also notice that my feet are following all the hands that I used. So in this case, the feet are a little worse than that before, and you also have to follow the trajectory instead of having a lot of foot options. And lastly, even though I made it look a little easy, this last move you have to commit a little bit because you're unstable with the foot, so you gotta go a little dynamic into it. And we are now moving on to V7, and if I'm being honest, the V4 and V6 felt a little easy for the grade, but this one, it was the other way. There was a lot of bad holds in this boulder and you needed more grip strength to hold into them, and it was definitely more technical because there was a lot of heel hooks and more positioning to stay under the slopers. So that's really a common thing, that it gets more technical as you go higher in the grades. And the real best way to get more technical is to simply climb a lot of boulders and try a lot of moves to make sure that your inventory is big enough to understand every position. So lastly, this boulder was insanely uncomfortable. There was a few moves where I just didn't want to stay there for too long because I was not in a comfortable position. And even this last move, I was super squeezed and there wasn't like a moment I wanted to stay in there. So V7, it gets really hard, man.
How you feeling now?
Weird ass boulder. What the fuck? Alright, so we're on a V8 now, and right off the bat you can see that these first crimps are super small, so you need some good finger strength, a lot more than the V6 we did earlier, simply because in this situation the wall is like 60 degrees and they're really just smaller. Secondly, we have these big lock-offs. And I could really talk about lock-offs in a whole different video, but just know for now that it's really important for harder grades, especially because you don't want to go too fast on a hold and you want to be controlled in a stable position to make sure that you're not really coming off the wall fast. And lastly, you need a lot of endurance because right here I saw a lot of people power out, but if you have good endurance, you can just keep on going. Moving on to V9. For some reason in this reset there was a lot of finger strength boulders and a lot of lock-offs, so this was a little similar to the V8 we just did. But if you take a look at the feet, you can see that they're really tiny, so you have a lot of tension to create. And in this move you need a lot of precision, so you have to commit to the hold but also be super precise. And same goes for the last move, you also have to jump into this crimp, but since I'm long it doesn't really look like a jump, mostly like a stretch for me. So this V9 was pretty straightforward, so it was mostly physical and how much you can pull on crimps. So it's definitely technical because like I said, the feet are really small and you have to commit, but sometimes on V9s it can be a lot more tricky or a lot more technical than this and even more physically demanding. So let's watch my friend Alex.
Come on, ça flash! Ah! No! That wasn't even the hard move! I know. What?
Alright, so I'll try to explain why he fell. On the left side, you see me, I'm locking off fully until I reach the hold. On the other hand, if we look at Alex on the right here, he stopped locking off and that small little push he did pushed him off the wall. So it's a very subtle difference, but once you understand that you can lock off till you can reach the hold, I think it's part of the reason why sometimes I make the moves look easy and comfortable, but in reality, there's a lot of technique behind that move. Okay, we are now in the double digits. So right off the bat, you see that this crimp is terrible in a like 60-degree angle, and you have to do this pretty powerful move into a sloper and cut loose. So already you can see that this boulder requires more power and more core involved than usual. I'm also going to mention the continuously uncomfortable positions because in all of this section I couldn't really move too much, and unless I had a toe hook like this, I was not able to just pull up and slowly go into the Gaston position. So right here I didn't find the right foot, but I was trying to keep the flash, so I just went for the move.
Oh man.
So, before even explaining other moves, I just want to say that the difference between V9 and V10 is pretty big, especially in this case, since the V9 was more crimpy and straightforward. This one is super technical, it's pretty powerful, it's insanely tricky because for my first attempts I didn't know what to do. And like I said, the uncomfortable positions make up for the grade because you have like no rest and you're always under tension. So we're into this move again, and I fell again on it, so my strategy was to climb on jugs and only try this move. Even though it wasn't too clean, I kind of understood what I had to do for my next tries, but turned out that this one was really the crux of the boulder. This drop knee makes you very unstable and the hands are pretty bad, so I'm just gonna do a small breakdown. So first of all, the Gaston tension you have is pretty hard since the holes are not too good. Secondly, like I said, the drop knee is in a small box, so you're not really comfortable. And lastly, you really have to lock off on the sloper if you want to go gently into the next one. So, because of those three reasons, I would say that this move is the crux, because there's a lot going on. And also, after doing all the beginning, you have less strength and less chalk. So I know it's really a bad quality for my send, but that was the only clip I had, and this is the attempt that I got the boulder, so we're just gonna stick with it. I think this boulder was really well set, because at first this move felt hard, but once you understood it, it was actually not too bad, and there was even an easier way of doing it. And this move turned out to be incredibly technical, and I didn't think it was gonna be hard from just looking at it. But when I hopped on the boulder, I really felt the uncomfortableness, and I don't know if that's a word, but it was definitely hard. Okay, we are finally into the last grade, which is V11. And oh man, the difference between V10 and V11 is huge. Like I said, between V9 and V10, you can see some more tricky moves, some more technical moves, maybe more physically demanding. This is just to another level. Every single aspect is just harder, but especially the physical area, because even though you do like a crux move of this boulder, or you do two crux moves of this boulder, you still have to do the rest. So you need a lot of endurance in hard moves. So personally, I think everything is just way harder than V10, at least in my case. So for the remarks, first of all, you have these really bad holds everywhere. They're all slopey, small, and have no friction. Secondly, you have this really high foot that requires you to do this big push, meaning that you need good mobility to even do the push and to keep the heel hook on. I know a few people that couldn't really put the heel hook there because it was too high, too close, or they just couldn't do the push. So definitely some mobility in that move. Then you have this insanely bad foot that you can slip on anytime. And we also used that foothold later in the boulder, so the route setters made sure that it was really bad, so it was hard to trust it and to put some weight on it. It's not over yet. We have this enormous Gaston move, and it has like no friction on the hole to the right. So when you're coming into it, it's not really holding, and you really have to keep this large position. So I think for me, this was definitely the crux move because I was so extended and it was just not holding. So in this clip, my friend Fernand is about to do something insane. Look at this. He is holding that position and even cut losing, which is absolutely monstrous. I don't know how he did it. I could barely keep it on with the foot, so it was really impressive. And in this attempt, I finally hit the move, but transitioning to the right is super awkward because your shoulders and hips are in a very weird position. And also keep in mind that I am using that small foot that I talked about earlier, so I fell on this transition so many times. So right here, you either try to do this frog method and match this sloper, and I did make it work, but I couldn't do the ending. Or you do this really high foot in this Gaston position, but it's so uncomfortable. So now that I almost figured out every move, I tried the boulder from the beginning, and this first section was really not too bad. I could get this consistently, and even this move that you have to push really hard, I could get it pretty much all of my attempt. But in my first session, this move turned out to be a really hard one, and I couldn't get it in my first session. So I had to go back on the second session to understand this move better. And actually I did figure out in this middle section that once I brought my right foot up, I was pinching my right hand. And in that way I could go a little faster in that pinch move. But that was like a micro beta that was really difficult to find in the first session. So since I am trash, I didn't get it in my second session. But at least I got a stand of it on my third session. And my second one really wasn't pointless. I developed some micro betas and I could understand every move. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the point of this video is to really understand the subtle differences between each grade. And now you understand that each grade has its little technical difference or physical strength difference that makes the grade harder, of course. And you can really see in this video how limit it is for me to get a B11 because I need to execute everything perfectly and adjust to every micro beta there is on the boulder. So I really hope you learned something. If you haven't, then tell me in the comment that my commentary is trash. Or if you liked it, then tell me in the comments. I would be really pleased. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.